Good morning, Americans and humans. This is your favorite alien on the morning of Thursday, April 4th, 2024. I got a special commentary for you today, but I have to do a disclaimer. Yesterday, I did a special on President Carter based on a Washington Post thing that was on my phone. I should have double checked it, but being Washington Post, I thought it was okay. But somebody did this out of spite or whatever it was. But there's a lot of people that I know that got the same thing. Washington Post is saying no comment to this, but they posted President Carter's demise when they shouldn't have, and that's whoever did that. If I were the federal government, I would go after them with a vengeance, because that's something they shouldn't do. That's very improper. But today's commentary is on humans. You know that all you humans, no matter where on earth you are close-minded. Let me explain what I mean by close-minded. Right now, you keep on using the same word, anti-Semitic or anti-Semitism, referring to the treatment of the Jewish people. Which, in a way, is yes, and in a way is no. The problem with anti-Semitism is it's self-centered and has gone for century after century after century. Judaism, as a religion, had become close-minded. Nobody is in Judaism. Sure, you have converts to Judaism, but you have such a close-minded teachings under Judaism that it's crazy. You can't survive that way. That's why you never became a Christian, a Hindu, or an Islamic, because they acquire people through various means. Okay, they go out there and subjugate them and convert them. And if you don't believe, wow, down with the sword and off with your head you went. The Muslims are still that way. Non-believers, as they call them. The Christians use a word that they don't understand, and they use it all kinds of things. Heretics. I had a person I talked to the other day here that because he didn't like what I was saying, he called me a heretic. Because it didn't agree with what his close-minded principles, and that's not a religion, a belief. That's why religion should be outlawed and beliefs should be kept. But the Jewish sect, the religion of Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and Hinduism, to mention the top four, and these are religions that make up almost 3/4 of your population. Billions of people in these religions, except for the Judaism, okay? They only have millions. They're not even up to 1 billion yet. But the other three, they're over almost 2 billion apiece now, if you count all of their little sects together. Whether they like it or not, they're part of each other. But close-mindedness. A good example would be in the Roman Empire, when Emperor Constantine took over in 313 AD and established Christianity, as he called it, as the top religion. Unfortunately, the sect he picked for Christianity, and Christianity had a whole bunch of sects, over 200 sects, I believe it was. They don't have that many today, but they still got over, 100 sects? If you look at all the different denominations, as you call them now, as sects, pardon me, uh, well, look at you Baptists, to give you an example. You guys are splintered so badly that you don't even communicate with each other no more. You got Southern Baptist, Northern Baptist, Eastern Baptist, what do you call that? Old Baptist, New Baptist, oh, you name it, you got it. Well, it was the way in the old days. But Emperor Constantine picked a sect that became, because they wanted to be known as universal Catholic sect. So they became the Universal Catholic Church. And when they took over, and Rome fell in 476 AD, they had started back in 370 AD, 100 years before, to consolidate their power and eliminate other sects. So they went out and killed, and they wanted to eliminate other things that didn't correspond to their version of Christianity. So, say the Coptics were not allowed in. The Gnostics, well, we got to kill them. They're nasty. Yeah, and you had all kinds of different things that went out there. And now you're finding books from these different sects. The Gnostic Bibles. Ooh, that kind of hurts the Catholics, doesn't it? But it's too little too late, because for almost 900 years or 1,000 years, they controlled the entire Western world of Christianity. And they did it under brutal conditions, including the Inquisition. And during this time, there was still anti-Semitics going on in the eastern part. And the Jews, after the Romans clobbered them in AD 70, were dispersed all over the place. And wherever they went, anti-Semitism was there, because of the way they are. Not inclusive and close-minded. A lot worse than the Catholics. That's the Jewish tradition. And I know a lot of Jewish people. And some of them are so close-minded that they don't want to talk to you because you're not Jewish. You are a Gentile, an infidel. Okay? That, they have something to do with the anti-Semitism. You do that to other people, and that causes them to look at you like they do the Jews. The Catholics were the same way. Heck, in 1054 AD, the Easterns didn't want anything to do with the Westerns. So the Easterns became the Orthodox. And 400 years later, almost 500 years later, you had the final straw. The German priest Martin Luther put his 95 Theses in there in 1517, and, well, we don't want anything to do with popery. Oh, boy. Therefore, they call it the Reformation. I call it a disaster, because it became the Lutherans, and then you had all the other Baptists and Calvinists, and all kinds of people went in there. And the coup de grace was Henry VIII. Oh yeah, boy, he really made the Catholic Church go back to what they were, because most of Europe started to be Protestant. And their coup de grace was Spain. Spain kind of saved the Catholic Church. because it found the New World with Mr. Wrong Way Corrigan, Christopher Columbus, yeah. And when Spain started colonizing Central and South America, I don't know why it didn't go to North, but it never liked the North America too much. Uh, Even though it finally started exploration and got the western part, which became the Mexican Cession a few centuries later. Oh boy. Yeah, you know what I mean, Americans. You got the Mexican Cession. Yay! Anyway, they got people, and Christianity started to be big as far as population. But Christianity in the Western world and Christianity in Europe are two different animals, especially Catholics. You look at a Catholic from Latin America, he's a lot different than a European Catholic, especially an Italian Catholic. They do exist. No, they're not mafia, but yeah, they got mafia in them. Yeah, okay, yeah, Italians, yeah, yeah. Just look at Pope Alexander the Sixth. Woo! The Borgias, yeah. See what I mean? And I'm not putting religion down here. I'm just telling you that close-mindedness is what caused. Look at Islam. When Muhammad died, Islam split into two sects, the Shiites and the Sunnis. And those sects have split and splintered all over the place in the centuries that have followed that. In 1400 years, Islam has become all kinds of craziness. Hey, look at Saudi Arabia. They're Wahhabis over there. They have their own little version of Islam there, and they control Mecca, which is like the Jerusalem to the Christians and Jews there. And like the Christians, Christians have Nazareth and Bethlehem and Jerusalem. Jerusalem is to the Christians because that's where Christ got crucified. But Nazareth and Bethlehem is the place that he grew up at. Okay, Bethlehem, that's where he was born. Nazareth, the place he grew up. Same with the Islamic. You have Mecca and Medina. And then Jerusalem is supposedly where both Jesus Christ and Muhammad ascended. Now, ascended, it can mean a lot of things. To the Muslims and Christians, ascending means you see him go whoosh, up to heaven. To other people, ascension means you become in a different plane of existence, which means you don't have a corporeal body. You exist as another plane of existence or energy. I know a lot of people that are that way in my home world planet. We have members that are corporeal, non-corporeal. They don't have any body. They live in a planet. They still like their home planet, even though it's a disaster because their ancestors destroyed it, as most humanoids will if they don't change their mind. Heck, my ancestors did the same thing, but they blew their solar system, so it's not there anymore. But these guys didn't blow them. They just exceeded it, and how would you say, the ones that didn't ascend, well, they turned their planet to a ghost planet, polluted it so heavily that it's coming back, but it took millennia to come back. That's what I mean, Americans and humans. And the anti-Semitism that you go under the Jewish, they have anti-Arabism too. Because to them it's, I kill you or you kill me. And there is no in between. And that's the problem with religion. and way that you operate. There is no in between. The Americans are starting to be that way. The Republicans and Democrats, there's no in between you, so you're heading towards extinction. Is that what you want, Americans? Really? The answer to the Israeli Palestinian situation is not to be anti Semitic or to be anti Arab. It's to note that there was a mistake made in 1947 by the United Nations, and we got to live with the consequences. So the East Bank and the West Bank and the Gaza Strip are two different people. And they have to understand that they cannot rely on Hamas and they can't rely on the Palestinian Authority. They have to rely on themselves. The Israelis have to understand that you have to coexist with them. And you can't settle settlements on that territory. It wasn't meant for you. It was partitioned for a reason back in 1947. And then when you got it in 1948 and the partition was done, it was for a reason. Whether it was right or wrong, it doesn't matter anymore. That's 70, 80 years ago. You got to deal with the consequences today and try to fix them to a certain extent. Therefore, you can't be close-minded. The Americans are close-minded, the Israelis are close-minded, the Palestinians are close-minded. Until you stop being close-minded, one of you will be extinct. The Americans are going to extinct themselves, and the Israelis are going to be extinct because it'll cause a regional war that will extinct them, finally. But do you want that? No. And the Arabs, you'll be extinct in 40 years because the Mushka will make sure they don't care who you are. You're human. They want you extinct, and that's what you're going to be. This is your favorite alien. Good day.